Welcome back to the shop. We're on the Buggy again today. Got the brakes, rear steer log, heat tape installed in the last video. Check that out if you haven't seen it. Today we're going to be starting with buttoning up the wiring. I got those fancy zip ties that I had talked about in the mail. So first thing is I'll show you those. They're pretty cool. You might want to use them in your project, but that's what I'm going to replace a lot of the regular zip ties that I have for the wiring, so I can get all that wiring finally buttoned up and move on to the next phase, which is going to be getting body panels, seats, all that stuff in. So these are those fancy zip ties I was talking about. They're made by a company called Grip Lock Ties. I've known about these for, seems like a while now, a year or more at least, and I tried to get some in the past, but they weren't available. I just recently found out that the company has been trying to move manufacturing into the United States, and they've just recently completed that, so that's why they weren't available for a while. They're made by, this company is owned by a guy named Mike Patey. He's a fascinating character in the aviation industry. He's got his own YouTube channel. Him and his brother run several aviation related companies and also just other industries as well. Brilliant guy. He's built several airplanes. Anyways, check his channel out if you haven't heard of him before and you'd be interested in something like that. But he owns this company, Grip Lock Ties. What makes these zip ties special is they have a rubber lining. You might be able to pick up there. This blue colored lining is rubber. So it makes them especially useful for wrapping wires and such. But the other thing that's cool about them is they're reusable. So there's a little pin here, not pin, but this little flag that you can pull on and take them apart. So also useful for wiring, because a lot of times, you need to unbundle something and fish in a new wire or reroute a wire or whatever. So have them in two sizes. Got these long ones too. So check them out. GripLockTies.com, I think, is the website. Also, if you're familiar with the Cletus McFarland YouTube channel, he's a partner in this company, so you can get them from his website as well. This is my first time trying them. We'll see how good they work. So I'll be starting with that this morning by replacing a lot of the regular zip ties that I have with these for the wiring, for cleaning up the wiring. Here's what the wiring looks like cleaned up. See, that's been bundled with these zip ties, grip lock ties, I should say. They've already been worth their weight. When you're organizing stuff like this, you end up like bundling a bunch of wires together, put the zip tie on, only to realize you need to put like one more in there. So just being able to undo the zip tie to put another wire in there, I've already done that countless times already. So it's looking pretty good. I have a bunch of excess that I need to kind of like get rid of, which is what all this sort of coiled up is. Can't really get around that unless I remake those shorter, but I don't really want to do that. So that'll kind of be, it just is what it is. Same thing with these over here. They're all under the seat. So the main concern is that they're not going to be interfering with anything. So that's the main thing. Driver's side, kind of the same situation. I still have this. I haven't done anything with this yet. This is the push to talk for the driver's side radio. I don't exactly know where that's going to go. I put it right there for now, but it can't go there. I didn't really think about this, but the whole shifter panel, like the panel where the shifters come up through, all takes up this area. So that's not really going to be able to go there. I think it's going to probably go somewhere up there, but I don't know yet. And then again, this is a scenario of having 1,000,000 miles of wire to get rid of. And this, I can't even clean this up anymore. Like I can't even shorten these because this is that proprietary wiring for the rock lights, and They're like weird cables. They're proprietary connectors on each end, and so I would have to like totally destroy their wiring to be able to shorten any of that up. So I'm obviously not going to do that. Also, here's the driver's side of the engine area. Cleaned these up too. So that's looking nicer. And then one of the rock lights is there. I'm gonna end up putting zip ties. These are magnetized if you saw the previous video on that. But I'm probably going to also put zip ties like this just for extra security. Not quite as aesthetically pleasing, but not really that worried about it. I mean, the running joke with this thing is, let's be real, it's not going to SEMA. The other mess that I'm gonna tackle next, probably today, is this whole area in here. So some of that I can't do anything with until I put the floor pans in, because I just don't know where, the floor pan is gonna end up, and it's gotta get around the floor pan and all that stuff. But a lot of that I'm gonna start cleaning up today. So that's probably what I'll start with. Check it out, got the wiring cleaned up in the front section and that panel installed. It makes a little bit of tweaking, grinding on that panel to make it fit. When I first test fit it, there's some like socket head cap screws on this shifter that like sticks out and underneath there, and I had to use my rotary burr to grind some space for that. Can't really get a very good view in there, but actually, hold on. That's what it looks like now. Zip tied that little bundle up there, coiled these up, and zip tied these, and zip tied a bunch of stuff up in there. This right here is just temporary. That is a wire that plugs the dash into the OBD connector on the computer. The OBD connector mounts to a floor pan that is not installed yet. So once I get that installed, then I'll figure out where that's gonna end up. Other than that, that's basically done, I think. Start putting floor pans on now. All right, the floor pans have begun. Man, I'm tired. Got the shifters in for the transfer case. Got this panel in, and I got the main foot kind of panel, and also that panel up there. These panels go together like a freaking puzzle. Like some of them go above the others, some of them go below, and I can't remember exactly the order that they go in. So such is the puzzle of putting the floor pans together. But that's it for today. Also got the top panel in and secured down. If you remember, if you've been here for when I showed fixing this, because I forgot to weld tabs for the top panel. I'm pretty happy with this solution. Obviously it's less than ideal, but it's definitely secure. All right, there's the floor pans on the driver's side, mostly done. The OBD is just sitting here, but behind it is the OBD for the computer. This is a pass-through OBD that plugs into the computer to get the RPM signal and other things for my dash. I got all the driver's side floor pans in except the one that goes here because I got to get the drive shaft in there. Once I get this last floor pan in, I won't be able to get to the drive shaft very good, the U-joint, to tighten the U-joint, so I figured I'd do that first. That's the end of today. I'm tired. All right, it's the next day. Let's see if we can't make some more progress on those floor pans. I think today I'll start with trying to get the drive shaft in. If we get the front drive shaft in, I can get the U-joint on the transfer case side taken care of, because once I put that floor pan in, it's going to cover it all up. So, see what we can do. All right, here we are. Let's see if I can wrestle this thing up in there. All right, it's roughly up in there now. So I left the tape on, hold the U-joint caps together. Now I'm gonna see if I can undo them. Undo the tape, I mean. Also, do I have a U-bolt handy? I do. This drive shaft is not light. Made of 1/4-inch wall tube with 1410 size U-joints. So it's pretty stout. Not easy to manipulate. Hopefully I can get it in with the front side just laying down on the ground like this, because it's easiest to manipulate this way. have to lift up a little bit because of the angle.
Alright, here's a nifty trick. Let's see if I can... Nope, can't. Let's see if that's enough.
The camera tripod is on. Ow.
The bag that the U-bolts are in.
I can't reach it from that angle.
Oh, okay. That helps. Move the stool over. So the stool is capturing the other end now. Where's the nut? There's already one on there, right? Yeah. And I can't get that one started for the life of me.
There we go. That one's in there good. This one, not all the way in there. Let's try and be more prepared this time. So on this side, the pinion guard, which is this needs to also go on. And it's easier to put the U-joint on when the pinion guard's not on. So what I'd like to do is slip the pinion guard over the drive shaft, put the U-joint on, and then put the pinion guard on after. I think I can do that. I'm just looking at orientation and stuff and see if it seems like I can do that. Like that.
Get this one in first.
I'm just compressing the U-joint a little bit. So that it sneaks underneath this ear. There's 2 ears on either side that retain the caps. There it goes. Just making sure that it's not gonna bind while it's tightening down. All right, that's probably enough for this one. Thanks for struggling through the drive shaft installation with me. That thing is significantly heavy to muscle up in there by yourself. I probably made it a little harder than it needed to be. Wish I would have thought to use that stool to support the other end a little bit sooner, because that made it a lot easier, but we got her. We got her in there. So got the drive shaft in there. Now for the driver floor pans, I just need to put in that one more pan that covers up the kind of front area right in front of your legs, and then put the brake pedal in. That'll be pretty cool. This will be the first time that the brake pedal will be mounted in there to the master cylinder. So I get to actually feel the brake pedal and feel what it's gonna feel like. So that's pretty cool. After that, I don't know, you'll just have to watch the videos and see. I need to ultimately get some hydraulic hoses measured. I need to measure for some hydraulic hoses and get those hoses made for the rear steer to finish out the rear steer. So once I get that stuff in, then I can work on getting the floor pans and the passenger area all buttoned up, but I don't want to do that until I get those hoses routed and everything. So stick around. Thanks for watching.